Good morning. Good morning, everyone. GM, and welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Hey, it's Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. And depending on where you're at in the world, it is still Bitcoin all-time high day. What a day. Bitcoin smashed through all-time high. 111,700, I think I saw it peak. It's at 111,000 right now. A lot of other coins are moving too. And the question, how high are we going? We're going to break it all down on today's show. No Farouk, he's traveling. He's got some meetings today. But we've got Mando and Logan in the house. Mando, GM, how you doing?
What a GM. What a GM. It was volatile yesterday, but it was good. It's good. I'm expecting the same sort of day today. I think we're in some clean air at the moment. You never know where this is going to end when Bitcoin starts breaking all-time highs. But it's been a fantastic 24 hours.
It's been fun to watch. And how volatile it was yesterday. We got the technical all-time high hit, an immediate sell-off, like 3.5%, just to wipe some folks out.
It'll happen again today, just to let you know. It'll happen exactly the same. Every day. If this is your first Bitcoin all-time high, which I don't know if it will be, but know that every day is super volatile. You'll get a good entry.
Well, it certainly played out like that yesterday. Logan, GM, how are you feeling today as we celebrate Bitcoin all-time high?
Yeah, good morning. I'm feeling well. The weather is still miserable here, but the market cheering me up a little bit. I got a text from my dad this morning asking me about what the easy and hard roads were. So I'm hoping we're getting ready. That's probably a bad sign, actually.
Well, let's address that question for your dad.
But I hope we're getting ready for easy road.
Man, well, your dad's clearly on top of it. And as for the weather, who cares what the weather is right now? Like, it's easier when the weather's bad. It's easier just to stay in, lock in on the screens a little bit, because there's been a lot of action. Wasn't sure if it was going to be just a Bitcoin rally with alts lagging, but it looks like some alts are starting to move. So we're going to talk about that on today's show. We're going to go through the market report. We're going to go through the Suie exploit. Kraken breaking news. They're launching tokenized stocks. Solana Mobile and a new Solana ecosystem token tied to that. Launchcoin and Believe App. They've got some new competition, a new rivalry in the ICM markets. We've got FIFA dropping on AVAX plus more. Before we dive in, shout out to our partner, Wallet Connect. Wallet Connect is the connectivity network shaping the future of on-chain UX. If you've connected to a Web3 app, you've seen Wallet Connect. That blue logo, it's everywhere. An icon of trust in crypto, as recognizable as Visa at the checkout. If you want to learn more, follow at Wallet Connect on X and Telegram to stay ahead of what's next. We love our partners as always. Mando, if you're ready, let's get into it.
Who is the man, macro daddy of the land? Can you dig it?
Yeah, everyone. So yeah, we kind of already touched upon it a little bit, but we've seen Bitcoin smash through the all-time high. It just flirted with it, touched it, and then dumped a little bit. I think I bought ETH back, I think at 2460 yesterday on one stage? I think it was. It was 2400. Like there was a few of these which just wicked horrifically, and yeah, it was there, right?
Yeah, 2460.
I definitely bought some back there, but it was I think we're just going to keep on seeing this. It's starting to hit, mainstream starting to pick up on it. CNBC's run articles, Bitcoin all-time high. Yesterday was not a great day for macro. So what you've been seeing in macro is bond yields have continued to go higher. But by bond yields, by the way, I just mean like people's perception of what interest rates are going to be in the future. And those continue to go higher. And because of the high amount of debt globally, US 10-year, we've already spoken about, if this goes up above 5%, it's going to be a bit of a worry. And the stock market is starting to react a little bit. So it was down yesterday on the back of that, which wasn't a great sign. And this is not just in the US either. Like Japan is where people are most worried about, and their bond yields just keep on hitting new highs. So strange one, and increases the worry about tail events. Ray Dalio's out there at the moment being like, you need to pay attention to this. Like this is all going to end horrifically. And I don't think he's necessarily wrong, but I don't know if I think crypto could do well, let's say, as one of the assets that performs well even in that environment. Gold will be the other one, but I do think that's why Bitcoin is so strong at the moment, and probably why dominance has remained so strong as well, because this is not like a rip-roaring rally that's taken us to all-time highs. It's been one where there's been fears just around the chance of some sort of crazy thing happening in the bond market and that nuking everything that's kind of taken Bitcoin at least higher. Bitcoin dominance has come down a touch today because ETH rallied and most of the L1s also rallied. Had a little bit of an altcoin season. It's amazing how much alts move with just a small dip in Bitcoin dominance. Do you know what I mean? Like yes. Bitcoin dominance has gone from, it's down 0.5% today. How nuts is that? And you've seen big moves across the board in altcoins. The biggest ones have probably been Hyperliquid continues to grab the attention. It's one of the few coins here which is about to break through all-time high. And that was what it achieved back in December. So it's at 31. I think the all-time high was around 34, 35, but a lot of positive momentum right now. I think the fact that James Wynn has got this like unbelievably massive trade on Hyperliquid is very good advertisement for the whole thing as well. And it's been a good trade, I think, for everyone who's kind of been in it. The other big move is you start to see some of the major meme coins move, I would say. So Farcoin finally broke 1.5, definitely been one of the better performers over the last 24 hours. Mog has had a decent move. You've had Pepe have a decent move. You've had, I would say, yeah, ETH memes and some, I guess, has whiffed okay yesterday. Yeah, memes are definitely picking up. Let's put it that way. And AI, those narratives are coming back as the things that people want to own. I'd still be wary here, just because I don't think participation is anywhere near as high in this rally as it was in previous ones, and I think it's mainly around Bitcoin. So, but it does feel as though if ETH can keep going, then an altcoin season can still be talked about, and people will automatically get drawn into the most risky stuff. Right, macro news. I think the biggest like crypto wide headline has been coming out about these exchanges now moving into tokenized assets, and it's moving quite quickly now. You had Bybit do it earlier in the week, and then today you've had Kraken come through and say we're going to do it too. It feels as though the next move would really be Coinbase here. They'd spoken about doing tokenized coin stock, if you remember, on their platform. If they were to move into other ones, that would be a very big move. Particularly, it would be for global users. I don't think they do it in the US, but they clearly feel like they can do this. So I think that's a good sign. Other signs of like massive risk taking, other than James Wynn, funding has not gone that high across the board. It's remained pretty low, but open interest has gone high. So I think there's a lot of people coming in and doing the basis trade. But yeah, it's not normally. Last time Bitcoin like went above these sort of levels, funding like really spiked, really spiked, and it hasn't these times. So it probably points to the idea that we probably are in a market of depressed funding for a while now, and I don't think that will change. There was a big deal for WorldCoin. They got 135 million, led by A16Z, and then we've seen this morning that one of the major DeFi protocols on Suie is facing. It was still unclear to me because I'm not a dev, but like there was talk of either being hacked or that the Oracle provider, the major Oracle provider for the DEX, had been facing an exploit. Either way, there is someone draining tens of millions of dollars from that platform right now and bridging to other chains. I think he's bridging to ETH. So that, interestingly, Suie just hasn't really reacted. I think people just know, like, whenever this sort of stuff happens, you're meant to like buy the dip. But oh no, it's reacting a little bit more now, actually. But like when the news came out, it like rallied, which I thought was like kind of strange. But Look, we've spoken about that. We don't really know what happens on Suie that often. This was one of the few major DeFi protocols on Suie, and for it to get hacked, it will really affect their TVL. Can I bring it up live? Suie TVL. Suie TVL right now is down 10%. It had gone above 2 billion. It's now at 1.9. I don't know if that's even delayed. I would imagine a lot of people taking their money off Suie right now. And then some other headlines. Obviously, this is a period right now where you're getting headlines from chains. There's a lot of like Solana week, Suie week, AVAX week. Avalanche announced their partnership with FIFA today, which I thought was big, but maybe not as big as people were making out to be. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and that's a great rundown. Maybe let's just dig into the Suie exploit a bit, and then we'll go back to Bitcoin in majors here. So I think it's still a little unclear exactly what happened. So let's start there. I thought this breakdown from Abi was pretty good here. So basically, Cetus protocol, one of the primary LPs on Suie, suffered a significant exploit, it looks like, and then the exploiters have been draining the LPs. What happened in the wake was basically all the top tokens on Suie instantly dropped 80 to 90% as their liquidity pools were being drained. We see it still now. So like the number one, like LoFi, is down 75%. This Hippo token down 80%, Squirt down 90%. So that was a part of the immediate impact there. It looks like it was 200 million in total so far. That's what the early reports are saying. So fairly significant. As you mentioned, they've been taking some of it off chain. I think the USDC token on Suie depegged quite a bit during all of this as well. I was unable to find the specific chart for that. I think a couple reactions on my side. So the Suie had reached $4.20 right before all this happened. Likely one of the bigger alt movers. I mean, up 5 or 6%. And then now it's giving back those gains. I don't think a huge surprise. What I haven't seen on the timeline, and maybe this is not surprising, is a lot of people who were personally impacted by this.
Doesn't that say a lot?
I've seen a lot of folks kind of racing to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anyone say like, oh shit, my Hippo position's down 80%.
I forgot about Suie Dang.
That was a big one.
I think it
had
like 200 million. Moodang rally. Oh, so Moodang's up on the back of that.
Oh, geez. So
Moodang's probably the play. Moodang is probably the play, my friends.
Those candles are tough.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
It was.
I'm going to buy some Moodang. Why not?
It was 300 million. So maybe Moodang backers were behind this to kill off one of their.
Yeah, maybe this was really about Moodang all along.
Moodang up 8%.
Come for the Hippo, you better not miss, you know?
I wonder how OV's OG Moodang has been responding to this.
I should ask him how OG Moodang's doing.
We got to check in on the OG Moodang, major Moodang token spread here. I am curious what this means. Like, I think this is a bit of a blow to Suie here, and a little bit early to react. It was on my like top 8 list of like potential fastest alt horses in a Bitcoin rally. Now I'm curious if it gets crossed off the list. Logie, what do you think?
Yeah, it's really interesting because we just talked about not really knowing too many people that are personally affected, yet at the same time, it felt like this was a chain and a brand that just had a ton of momentum, at least as alts go. So same sort of thing for me, Tyler. Like as far as considering other potential baskets, you know, should a real and true alt season come around, this was, of course, an ecosystem that I kind of had on my list as like, hey, definitely want to check this out. And to me, yeah, this just feels like a major momentum staller. You know, kind of think about the NBA playoffs and things like that, how you can just feel the momentum of a moment shift so dramatically. Kind of feels like one of those events. At the same time, as Mando noted, a lot of these things over time, you just get shrugged off. right? So it also presents a pretty clear opportunity, likely with any very legitimate tokens. It's difficult with meme coins, of course, but like, you pull up Walrus here. Any other like legitimate ecosystem assets here on Suie that you have conviction in, should you already know them, or that you had interest in potentially learning about, now is maybe a really good time to kind of like dig your claws in a little bit and see if there's something of substance here, as attention and as feelings about Suie and these particular protocols may be kind of at a local low, I would imagine. So I think you could go both ways. For me personally, it just feels like a definite like a reset, a stall of a lot of momentum that it had been building over the last couple of weeks.
I think you brought up a really good point, and like we've seen this before. If the team comes out, addresses it, perhaps finds a way to make impacted users whole, I think this is a blip that you can get past. And to your point, maybe it slows down near-term momentum, but with the financial power behind this one, with folks like Raoul Paul behind it, I'm definitely not going to cross it off the list of runners. Like I would not bet against Suie making a new all-time high in 2025. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm trying to like hit myself over the head with a little bit more recently too, and I think Mando has said this on the show, and I think OSF has tweeted a handful of times as well, is like just like needing to be okay with buying the really bad headline stuff. You know what I mean? If the the conditions are right for it. Like, of course, if Suie or any other thing had bad headlines, and it wasn't a real protocol or whatever, then you may not buy it. But if you actually like believe in Suie, I'm not a foremost expert on it, but if you actually believe in it, like these really bad headlines present themselves with great opportunities. And I'm trying to get better just emotionally myself as like being okay, because I'm just like everybody else. And when the bad starts piling up, you get sheepish and scared. So I'm trying to beat myself over the head with that type of stuff, that like, hey, now may be the time, right, for those that are seeking an opportunity.
Yeah, very good call. Well, let's go back to the big dog. We had to talk about the Suie exploit, but the biggest news of the day still, by far, Bitcoin new all-time high. I think it hit 111,750 overnight. Still hanging. Okay. It's still hanging out at 111. Logan, your dad, he texted you. I think that's a great question. Are we on the easy road, or are we still on the hard road? So we're referencing Kobe, who it was John something, who basically said the road to 110K is the hard one, and then the road to 200 or 250K is the easy one. So do we think we finally have broken through 110K for real?
I don't know if that's directed at me, but I don't think I'm quite ready to say that we've broken through, but it feels like we're getting ever closer. That's what I'll say. I mean, it was just a couple months, which feels like eternity of sort of this choppy stuff. I mean, we're not too much above the all-time high that we set. When was that? Was that November with the first 108 or whatever?
Mid-December.
December. Okay. So, I mean, 5 months feels like much longer than that. I think we're getting close. It's difficult for me to, I didn't pay close enough attention to like the Bitcoin moves during the last cycle. I was more focused on NFTs and stuff, like, like a lot of folks were. So it's difficult for me to remember the potential violence. I saw somebody tweet this morning, about the move in 2017. It might've been Moon Overlord or something, like just how violent it can get, how swiftly you can go up. It's difficult for me to know and feel and remember the easy road for real. So I'm sure I'll know when we get there. I think we're getting closer. I don't know that I'm ready to say we've maybe hit that accelerator path just yet.
I'm looking back at 2017. This is really before my time. April 2017, Bitcoin was 1,000 and it ran to 17,000. I think that's the type of banana zone move folks are talking about. And then 2021, the parabolic move from October the year before, 11K up to 63, then a full 50% drawback through summer, into late summer. So like into July bottom, and then November was the peak, 67K. before that bear market started. What number do we need to hit to think that we're safely on the easy road? Is it 115, 120?
For me, again, not the foremost macro expert, but like a really big psychological for me would be more like 125K. I don't know why. That's just the number that stands out to me. Mando's going to have a much more, educated guess here. I would imagine than what I can provide you.
I actually have no clue. That's kind of the good thing about this is that like when it breaks all-time high, there's nothing in the chart that can tell you when it will stop. Like if it's hitting new all-time highs, you can judge from like the last time it broke, like where it faced significant resistance. So I think the last all-time high was like 72, and then when it broke that, it kind of didn't really hit resistance until 90. And then we battled around there for a while, and obviously then we went all the way back down to like 72. So when you say we've comfortably breaking 110, what I would always I always say this, like you will get another chance. You might even get another chance to buy Bitcoin below 100. Just like have that in your mind. So like when you're like, oh, I need to go all in. The higher it goes, the less long you should be. Let's put it that way. So change that for your mindset a little bit more. Yes, some of the altcoins will have some huge moves, but you should have been longest at 80K. And now you should know that the volatility is really going to pick up. So even in a day, like I told you when we hit all-time highs, I was selling some of my ETH position. I managed to buy it back 5 or 6% lower than that on ETH. That's not a small move.
Yeah.
I would always be wary of being max long at the highs. You're not James Wynn.
Speaking of big game James, let's pull up his position. So at one point he had $1 billion in this position on a huge 40x long on Bitcoin. He had 10x long on Pepe, and it looks like he's also 10x long on Suie. I don't know if that's been added in the overnight, but he is down a bit on the Suie long. Overall, his position's up 24 million. Notably, during yesterday's volatility, he went from being up 13 million to down 19 in like an hour. So a $32 million swing, but then it's bounced back. Yeah. He's big in the green.
I didn't realize he got liquid. He was going to get liquidated at 90 whatever 7. I thought that's what his entry was. His entry's pretty fucking high.
It's high. And he added to it. I think at one point his like average entry was like 108.
Like to be long $1 billion from 109K, like that is ballsy, to say the least.
It is ballsy to say the least. What's been going around today is his pinned tweet.
Well, I don't get this guy. He's shilling Moonpig right now.
Oh yeah, he is shilling Moonpig.
I'm so confused about everything about this. Like, why would he be doing that? Why does he need to do that?
So many questions. Apparently, this guy, I think Farouk said yesterday, I have not dug into this. Funded from like an Alameda source. He was early to the Pepe trade, bought Pepe at like 3 million or 300K or something absurd, and made some huge Pepe calls. And now he's just, along with a $1 billion position with Bitcoin, that's not enough for him. He's spending the rest of his time bull posting Moonpig, a new meme coin that I'd never even heard of before he was talking about it. It looks like this thing has actually been around for a little while. But he sent it up 160% in the last day. So this is the top meme mover on the board now, closing in on 100K. And if Big Game James is behind it, that's enough for me. Disclosure, I did buy some of this before the show. So
of course, here we go.
I'll ride with James Wynn for a little bit. But what I wanted to talk about.
He's now called Big Game James. Is that purely a Moonpig thing? Is that now change your terminology around him?
I feel like we're good buddies now that we share the same meme coin position.
Yeah,
so we're getting a little more chummy.
Are you in a chat by any chance? You managed to get into the Moonpig whales?
I wish I'd be a lot richer if I was.
To the moon pigs, you know.
I'll get on that after the show. See if I can jump in.
Oh,
he was
yeah,
like,
sure.
he was running a Spaces yesterday too. It's just like a wild thing to do. But this is his pin tweet. He is saying that we're in the hope phase right now. Oh, April was hope. May, June optimism, and saying a July blow off top. I don't know exactly what numbers he's calling for here. You would have to. I mean, that looks like 150 to me.
I've never seen this chart before. What is this chart?
Okay, I know we're not.
Brother, like every single fucking day, I think I see this chart.
Of course.
I'd never seen this chart before once in my life when I used to trade in TradFi. And then I came to crypto and it was just like the only chart that anyone looked at.
Yeah. I'm with you there, but I think it's an interesting discussion on kind of where do things go from here. So basically this thesis is that Bitcoin blows off top this summer, July, and then we dip back down. And like following this, like we would potentially dip back down to like 100K, below 100K, which to me is kind of hard to fathom. That we would, like, what would send us to 150K and then all the way back? I feel like if we went all the way back and gave that.
Global liquidity's come down a bit. Global liquidity's come down. So I would say, and this again is just my history of altcoin season, is that they are generally 2 to 3 weeks long. And I would say it maybe started even a week ago with Pectra. So I would say maybe we have 2 weeks, maybe 3. And then I'd be wary. This is just my, like, people always think that altcoin seasons last for months. They do not. They really, really do not.
Man, that's all we're going to get. It's going to be a little disappointing.
But you can still have like stuff go to 1 billion. I'm not saying it, but like it always moves so quick. Like Peanut went from 150 to a 2 billion. You will see a few more of those stories. Yeah, I'd just be wary. But if you think it's going to last until July, it's probably going to last until June. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I don't want us to forget that ETH is up 40% already.
Yeah.
And since May 7th. So in the last 2 weeks, it's up 1,800, 2,700 now. Nice. It's actually going up quite a bit. It's not the only. Yeah, go ahead.
Where was the peak for most alts? It was like December. Solana kept on going, but most other things kind of peaked.
Yeah,
like the first week of Jan, maybe, or like the last week of December. It was. And
yeah,
that
I think
started. Yeah. That was 8 weeks. That was 6 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Well, a lot of people are going to misremember how the meme cycle went and think Trump was the top, but in fact, memes actually topped in early December with Doge, and then fell from 137 to 40. Wow, 100 billion.
So how long was that? Let's just have a look at that. So peak to peak, and the meme coin market cap was from November. Where was that dip there? So that was the 11th. So that was the election.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the election. So let's say the 5th of.
It was a month.
November to. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would say. I think you got a month, and I would say there's less participation in this one. So it could be less. But things can go wild in that time.
Yeah. It makes for an interesting June setup for sure. I want to dig into what has been moving. So, I mean, clearly, like the top alt is hype. I mean, man, this thing is going 3150 now. I'm out of position on this one. It basically feels like we're kind of getting into price discovery. That the highest daily close is 32. It did wick higher. It wicked to about 35. But it's basically an all-time high. As I haven't seen the hard data on this. The team. They're printing fees and they're buying it somewhere between $3 and $5 million back of the token per day. So, I mean, it's got a good narrative. It seems like a lot of folks behind it, good fundamentals. Arthur Hayes is calling for 100 per hype token. Do we think it gets there? Do we think this is the main alt?
Yeah, I do. I think it goes to 100. I think Pups also goes to 100. Arthur Hayes has been very good at calling these sort of things.
Pups. You heard it here
Arthur
first.
Hayes has wild predictions for every single altcoin that he owns. Literally, he just says every single one that he owns is going to multiple billions. I think Hyperliquid could, but that would flip Solana, just to be clear here.
Right.
So keep that in mind. It may. Yeah. I don't know. It looks expensive on some metrics. On the buyback, I think it looks expensive, and on the chain metrics, it doesn't. But you know, when people try and compare it, they always compare it against Ethereum rather than Radium, and that's an interesting one.
I feel like I've been overly cautious on this one ever since I exited, and your comment on late. It almost feels like late longs entering here. I mean, it's already made a huge move. I'm very it's 100 is such an easy number to call out, but then you're saying it is literally, it's going to be the same FDV as Solana. That doesn't feel right. That doesn't really pass the sniff test, the gut test for me. Now, if Solana doubles and Solana's at 200 billion, could hype it to 100. I think that's a different conversation. Perhaps. So I think you need to see some more upwards movement quite a bit in some of the other alt movers to get there. What also stands out to me is why are other protocols not copying this model? It just seems so obvious to me.
So what do you mean by that? There are lots of other debts. Yeah, there's loads. There's GMX. There's none of them have just managed to get to scale. I don't know what has worked for Hype and what didn't work for the others. That is a very good question. Why did Hype work so much better than the others?
Yeah,
I think mainly because everyone got hooked on the airdrop, and it is a better platform. So now it's got this flywheel of liquidity staying there, but. I don't know if there's not going to be a better perp DEX that comes out in 5 years. Do you know what I mean? This is not a moat to a perp DEX. There's lots of different ones that get created. I think it's interesting to see if they will go down the route of tokenized stocks and stuff like that. That is something that will draw even more people to the centralized exchanges if the centralized exchanges are the only ones that are able to do it. And there's a lot of rules around perps, which this is why Coinbase doesn't have that perps for a lot of things in the US, right? Only for commodities. There's a lot of questions with Hyperliquid about whether they are really going to be able to operate in the same way that they have so far in the US, because Coinbase only allows Bitcoin and ETH, maybe is it right now, and maybe other things which are commodities. But largely, it's a very difficult. That's the one thing they are going to regulate is perp dexes. They've been pretty explicit about that. So we'll see. To be fair, Hyperliquid has been a great trade. I'm not trying to fuck people out of it. I'm just trying to say the things that if you want to have the things that you want to be aware of, if you want to go big in it, is that that them facing some form of investigation or them, or. Yeah, I think the valuation one is probably fine. I think no one really cares about the valuation in a bull market. As long as James wins around.
James Nguyen has helped drive this. We might even give him full credit for this Hyperliquid pump. Even the move from 9 to 30, we'll give it to James. The other alts there, pretty undeniable what the market flocked to. And I guess WorldCoin had its own news, but when I look at this board, it's AI and memes. So you've got World, it's an AI trade. Tau is the number 6 mover. At one point, FET was up there as well. Looks like that's top 10. Then you've got SBX, Farcoin, Floki Whiff. So I think it's some clear signal, at least early on, in what folks are going to be buying. Farcoin, what do we think here? It's just been grinding up. I think Froke said $1.60 is the next level. We're going to get to
the next level for his charts, his lines.
His charts. We get to $1.60, and then we'll do the same song and dance where we just consolidate, dip. It probably goes back to $1.30.
It's remarkable to look at as a chart. Yeah. It just looks so relaxed. Do you know what I mean? Like basically since 300 million, it's just like this unbroken chain higher. It kind of looks very similar to the Bitcoin chart, actually.
That's what I was thinking a little bit.
No real dips, just it's kind of gone higher.
It's unlike, I don't really recall seeing many other meme charts like this. And I've been deep in the meme game since late 2023. Typically, even like your outperformers, like WIF had 3 big 70% drawdowns before it went vertical. I guess Farcoin kind of had that last year. It had an early 70% dip. This one's, this is a 50%, 60% dip back in December. So maybe early on in its life, it did. Maybe the holder base, maybe when the holder base just gets this big, it kind of softens out the curve a bit. Like 152,000 holders on this thing. It's almost been like too comfy of a hold. Like, if you know what I mean, like there really hasn't been days where you're really sweating.
It's definitely the coin to buy on any sort of a bad day. That is what Farcoin is. I think if it were to get a spot listing at Coinbase or Binance or Robinhood, for example, that would be the thing that would make me more wary of buying a dip. Let's put it that way. Like if it would rally, and then I would probably sell some if that really happened. Just because I think that's kind of part of the reason why there's always such a strong bid for it. Like people know it will get a listing sometime soon. But yeah, it is a very good dip buying sort of. I'm trying to think what else is like feels just like that. Pepe maybe, but Pepe is a bit more volatile, I would say. And it's at times it's felt like, oh god, maybe that was it for the cycle for Pepe. It's really just been Bitcoin and Farcoin which have felt like that. I don't think there's really been anything else. It's just like, yeah, there's always a buyer for it. Maybe Hyperliquid would be another one actually. Maybe Hype, but Hype at times also felt really fucking bad, right?
I mean, this was a rough stretch for Hype.
Yeah, right.
It faced the exploit. It went from 27 to 9.
No, I mean over the last month. Month. It does look like Hyperliquid was another one of those coins that, like, if you didn't buy it at the start of this move, this broader move, like you didn't really get a chance to.
Yeah, it's been much easier since April 7th. That is a fact. Sometimes I think, oh man, what is Farcoin's explosive mood? What's the catalyst? Pepe's 4 times bigger than it. I mean, Pepe's casually hanging out at $6 billion right now.
Don't speak blasphemy about Pepe. Pepe's going for SHIB, my friend. Pepe is going for SHIB, my friend.
I want that to happen. I think we want all the boats to rise here. Like that. Yeah. I think that's what raises the ceilings. Trump coin is still at, it's at 15 billion FDV.
But the meeting, it's the dinner this week, no?
Yeah, dinner's tonight.
Oh wow.
Dinner's tonight. Justin's son's in Washington.
Yeah, Bitcoin pizza day, Trump dinner day. It's a big day.
Is that a conspiracy right there? Bitcoin all-time high just happens to be on the day that Trump hosts a dinner. That's a little bit conspiracy-like.
He'll get to take credit for it as well.
If that's going to be a thing, I'm going to need Trump dinners every day.
Yeah.
That's not out of the question either. There's been 2 this month, and they are very likely to continue. Well, let's keep going around the board. The out the risk curve AI tokens had a nice day as well. So I talked about the majors with Tau and FET WorldCoin. I guess virtuals was kind of even, but there was some decent movers. Cookie moved quite a bit. So it's continuing to grind up on the back of its InfoFi launch. Wasn't sure if yesterday we were late. Looks like no, we weren't that late. It's up another 26% since yesterday's show. So Cookie back up to a 250 million FDV, still 8x off of Kaido. So perhaps some more room to run in that one. Ava is up quite a bit. And then there was a new pre-sale yesterday. One of the better performing pre-sales in some time, this distributed AI token. They're looking to kind of like an AI version of Grass, the Grass token I've seen. It's like distributed compute. You can run it locally on your machines to empower like broader scaling of AI tools and products. So this thing shot out of the gate, hit 50 million. It's kind of been chopping a little bit. So it's around 35 million. The pre-sale was 15. So pre-sales are up 2.5x. The other one was the new LaunchCoin competitor. So not sure if folks saw this, a bit of drama in the internet capital markets yesterday. So LaunchCoin had been cruising up to 260 million, now down 25% on the day, hanging out around 185 and around support. The broader ecosystem down quite a bit. It was like 430 yesterday morning. It's at 300 million now. So it's down about 30%. And the part of the driver, let's see if I've got the tweet, is from a new competitor. So Gavel came out yesterday. Their model is they're going for more equitable on-chain token distribution. Basically what they mean is a way to avoid snipers. So their model is just,
this
go ahead.
Looks so Silicon Valley. It's not even funny.
Mm.
You know, just like everything about that just looks like Silicon Valley. We've got Gavel, your new, like, our better VC. Like, I bet they've got a great presentation. They've probably got like a nice little video trailer for the whole thing. God, it just makes me want to throw up my mouth looking at that.
And
continue. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, so I basically described what it is. So basically, they have a little bit better model for how these ICM tokens, so internet capital markets, a team like a real builder is launching a product and who want to launch a token. They can do it. It's not exactly like open public markets where snipers can take advantage. They use like a pre-sale. So it can still be public, but in a more fair way. I think what caught everyone's notice was Solana Raj rallied behind this, totally rallied behind this. Kobe said it was cool. And someone's retweeting this. So like everyone was kind of a lot of people saw this, it rallied. They launched their initial token, IBRL, which soared out of the gate to 70 million, briefly 60 plus, sold off about 50% now, hanging out around 40 million. So a couple impacts, new LaunchCoin, Believe app competitor. When this came out, everything sold off. It was a massive liquidity suck, which to me is kind of a sign of health or lack thereof in this broader ecosystem right now. That one $50 million runner just destroyed everything else on the board in the ICM era sector. Like memes were fine. But then it also forced Ben Pasternak to respond. So he immediately came out and shared an update about their new website live, more endorsed launches happening, which was the next round of FUD, because then this Kleb token, this founder launched this Kleb token. Pasternak responded with eyeball emojis, so people start piling in. Then the founder launched a second token. Total chaos. And I think that is what drove this kind of second leg down.
So what can I ask, what do you own now, Tyler? I know you get involved in a lot of different stuff and maybe you don't have to reveal everything, but what are your main plays? Because I think my plays are a bit more bigger things right now. Like I own ETH. I own pretty much every major ETH meme coin. I own some Pepe, I own some Mod, Rect, obviously. Solana, I have Epic, obviously, and then have a bit of Farcoin. But that's kind of it. And I just bought some Mudang, actually. Cheeky bit of Mudang.
Yeah.
What are you involved in? What's the long tail of Tyler's portfolio?
Bitcoin and Farcoin barbell is like 80%.
Okay.
Rect is my third biggest position now. I'm happy to report.
Nice.
So that's been a big winner. I've been getting into a couple other ETH memes, and I actually trimmed 75% of my launch coin position yesterday. So like that had been one of my bigger positions. I think yesterday was a sign, that they're going to face more competition. I don't know if Gavel is the one that's going to disrupt them, but it's unclear they have a huge moat. There's still a bull case, so I don't want to say I've given up on Launchcoin. If Pashnak and team bring some good founders to the table with good, successful projects, they can certainly rally again. So there's still a bull case, but the bear case has a higher likelihood, I think, now than perhaps it did. And then yesterday's flooded launch, I think, was just another one. So trimmed that. I'm not really like I have been dabbling in the Solana meme ecosystem, but at a much smaller scale. So just like small bets, just to have some fun on a day-to-day basis. Nothing crazy.
So just, like Moonpig's not like some massive position for you, or like you're not all in on like house coin or anything like this. Because I know some people. If that's really interesting, isn't it? Because I feel like we all were involved in a lot more of those sort of coins as Bitcoin was breaking all-time high last time.
Yeah, I feel like I'm playing much tighter.
Yeah,
and I feel like other people are as well. But that's my read. But Logan, curious for your read.
Yeah. Same goes for me. I'm not like actively really doing too much. Some of that was because, I just got back from Peru and stuff, but other part is because I feel just so much safer in some of those other assets. And it also feels simultaneously foolish to be dumping money into Moonpig and shit like that when Bitcoin is breaking all-time highs.
Well, you shouldn't feel that.
Well, I don't know if, that's just like some sort of emotional feeling that, is isolated to me or not. But every dollar that I'm not putting towards, like a Bitcoin type play, those we talk about what has felt like that safe grind, steady grind up, Farcoin, Bitcoin, like every dollar that I'm not putting towards those just feels wasted elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not highly confident because I was not actively participating in the trenches and stuff. I don't have any feel for what's going on. And as you noted, one $50 million runner is pulling from everything else. There's just not enough love to go around right now. So if you are trying to like, who knows, maybe enjoy your summer if the sun ever shines here again or stuff like that. I just much rather.
You really are not enjoying the weather, man. Go back to Peru.
I need to get back to Peru. It's so bad. It rains,
dude. You need to get out of there right now.
It rains every freaking day here. But anyway, yeah. I mean, if that stuff ever comes around, I want to feel a little bit better whilst still holding, to a upward trajectory. I just feel silly putting the money elsewhere.
Well, I mean, I'm scrolling this Dex board. There's nothing going on. Like, there's not really any new memes running. Like,
someone mentioned Labubu to me today. What was that?
What even? Our social intern was touting Labubu very early. He was in at like 2 million. On that. So this is one of the biggest movers of the day as well. It's up 160%. Labubu. I guess Asia loves these things. Is the pitch that I was told. Asia loves this Labubu.
I don't know.
I don't know, but the intern's quite happy today.
Big on Weibo. Big on WeChat.
We got a couple minutes left. Logie, I wanted you to take us through a couple other of the stories. So the Solana mobile story is actually pretty big. So can you give us the quick rundown on this?
Yeah. So of course everybody knew the Seeker was coming. It's a second generation mobile phone following the saga. What we didn't know and what was announced yesterday was that pre-orders will start shipping on August 4th. So people who have placed a pre-order should expect phones in the next couple months. And then also too, it's coming with a new decentralized sort of infrastructure and architecture. And perhaps the biggest thing here that I've buried is that the Seeker SKR token, the native asset kind of the Solana mobile ecosystem, designed to be just that, beyond just one phone. So this is not just like a Seeker phone, not to mix the two, but not just a Seeker phone token, but really for the entire Solana mobile ecosystem. So I spoke to the GM of Solana Mobile yesterday for the article. It's up on Decrypt, and he told me that they want to bring everybody along for the ride, everybody who's participating in this ecosystem. And what they've done with T-Pin and sort of creating this sort of decentralized open mobile ecosystem, which is designed to sort of think about it from a developer perspective, where Apple and all the gatekeeping and all of those concerns, right, that have forever been brought up as it relates to crypto apps and, just apps in general, trying to make that an open network, this open, permissionless, trustless network for developers, users, participants. And so that's where, the token and the infrastructure come into play. The token to power things, the native asset of that ecosystem, and the infrastructure, which is called T-Pin. I'm not the technical guy, so I'm not going to break it down here on the show for you, but you can learn more about it. That to help, empower it quite literally. So, I guess we'll see what it looks like. We don't know token launch details. We don't know tokenomics or anything just yet at this point in time, but we do know the phone is coming in early August. It's still available for pre-order, I think around $500. So it's about 50% cheaper than the Saga was. And it was interesting chatting because, mobile experiences for crypto thus far have been really hit or miss and probably mostly miss. When I spoke with Emmett Holier of Solana Mobile yesterday, he mentioned that he doesn't think anybody's cracked the code yet, and that's what they're kind of looking to do. He said most experiences for crypto have been sort of, hey, let's take this website and make it mobile responsive, which is largely just kind of like shrink things down. They're trying to actually, solve for and make the crypto experience usable on mobile. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how they do.
It's a lofty vision. It's interesting. I've seen people interpret this as now Solana has a second ecosystem token.
Yeah, I asked him pretty clearly why launch this token when Solana exists, right? It's already a great token, with great brand recognition, and they want something that's purely representative of the Solana mobile ecosystem. I don't have the article up in front of me, so I don't want to botch his quote or anything, but it was largely around those lines that they wanted something solely representative of the Solana mobile ecosystem. It will live, of course, on Solana, as a Solana token. Everything they do is built on Solana as well, but they wanted something to represent just this mobile ecosystem as kind of like an isolated asset from the rest of everything else that's going on.
I think it's gonna have big backing, right? It's probably gonna have the Solana Foundation behind it, totally all those folks. So it's gonna be interesting. We'll see if it's bearish on Solana. I don't. My gut is that it's not. I think I don't think so. That it's separate enough and distinct that it's not really a second ecosystem token. But I did find that an interesting reaction. Look, we're almost out of time, Logie. But the FIFA story. There's a lot of FIFA fans out there. You wrote the article. You just give us the quick TLDR on this one.
Sure. So FIFA announced actually at the end of April that they would be migrating away from Algorand. They have a FIFA Collect, which is like Top Shop, but soccer, football collectibles. They announced at the end of April that they were going to be migrating to its own chain. We didn't really know much more beyond that. The announcement from this morning is that they are building their own L1 via Avalanche. Avalanche's Ava Cloud product, which just allows them to, again, control their own, basically their own layer one blockchain. So other than that, that platform is migrating over. That's kind of the first step. But they did indicate in the release that, future business cases and use cases are being discussed. We don't exactly know what those are. I got a quote there from Chief Business Officer at Ava Labs, who just mentioned that, this is a big win for potential adoption. People, this is a massive organization, as you mentioned, tons and tons and tons, millions of fans globally, and now moving, to a blockchain with a bit more brand awareness, a bit more presence. No knock to Algorand, but how many people are using Algorand? Many more folks are using Avalanche. So and Avalanche like products, and that's one of the keys here is that this move enables them to EVM compatibility, right? So you can use MetaMask to collect FIFA collectibles and stuff like that. It's just, it seems kind of like a no-brainer in terms of potential adoption. So,
yeah, big story. Avalanche building momentum. I think they've got good biz dev. Got to give them credit for that. I saw VanEck also launched their Avalanche focused fund yesterday as well. So there's a lot of eyes on the Avalanche eco for sure. So this will be an interesting one to continue to track. Folks, we're a minute over. I think that was a good rundown today. Bitcoin all-time high, still hanging out. We'll see if we are higher for tomorrow. But as for today, that's it. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in today. I want to thank my co-host. I want to thank our partner. We'll be back tomorrow to round out the week with Farcoin Friday. Yeah, and some double yeet action. Till then, go make it a beautiful day. Goodbye.